The year was 1666. London was a bustling city filled with narrow streets, wooden buildings, and a growing population. People went about their daily lives, unaware that within days their city would be consumed by one of the worst fires in history. This is the story of the Great Fire of London, how it started, spread, and changed the city forever. London before the fire. London in the 17th century was a city of trade and industry. The River Thames was the lifeline of commerce, with ships bringing goods from around the world. However, the city was also a fire hazard. Most buildings were made of timber and tightly packed together. Streets were narrow, and the houses leaned towards each other, almost touching at the top. The summer of 1666 had been unusually hot and dry. Wells had dried up, and wooden buildings had become tinderboxes. Fire was always a risk, but no one could have predicted what was about to happen. The fire begins. On the night of September 2nd, 1666, a baker named Thomas Fariner finished his work at his bakery on Pudding Lane. He and his family went to bed, unaware that a small ember in the oven had not been properly extinguished. In the early hours of the morning, the ember ignited nearby firewood. Within minutes, the bakery was engulfed in flames. The fire spread rapidly, consuming neighboring houses. Fariner and his family managed to escape by climbing out of a window, but their maid was not as lucky. She became the first victim of the fire. The fire spreads. The flames moved swiftly, carried by strong winds. The wooden houses acted as fuel, and soon entire streets were ablaze. Firefighters of the time, known as the trained bands, tried to control the flames by creating fire breaks, but the fire was too strong. People fled in panic, grabbing whatever belongings they could carry. The streets were filled with screams and the sound of crackling timber. Some citizens attempted to douse the flames with water from buckets, but it was useless against the roaring inferno. The role of King Charles II. As the fire grew out of control, King Charles II and his brother, the Duke of York, took charge. They ordered that buildings be torn down to create fire breaks, but by then the fire had become unstoppable. The king rode through the streets, offering rewards to anyone who helped fight the fire. Despite his efforts, the flames continued to spread, jumping from street to street. The destruction of St. Paul's Cathedral. One of the most shocking moments of the fire came when it reached St. Paul's Cathedral. At the time, the cathedral was covered in wooden scaffolding due to renovations. When the fire reached it, the entire structure was set ablaze. The lead roof melted and rivers of molten metal flowed through the streets. The sight of St. Paul's burning was a devastating blow to the people of London. The fire's end and the aftermath. By September 6th, the fire had finally died down. Rain helped extinguish the remaining flames, and the winds that had fueled the inferno finally calmed. Over 13,000 homes, 87 churches, and numerous public buildings were destroyed. Remarkably, only a few people were recorded as having died, but thousands were left homeless. London was in ruins, but its people were determined to rebuild. The famous architect Sir Christopher Wren was tasked with designing a new city. He proposed wider streets, brick and stone buildings, and the construction of a new St. Paul's Cathedral, one that still stands today. The Great Fire of London was a disaster that reshaped the city forever. It led to better building regulations, improved firefighting techniques, and the modernization of London's layout. Though it was a tragedy, it also marked the beginning of a new and stronger London. The fire's legacy lives on today, and the monument to the Great Fire of London stands as a reminder of the city's resilience. What lessons can we learn from this historic event? Let me know in the comments and stay tuned for more stories from the past.